What do you mean he's requesting the remnants? This is not a place for free meals. Wesley Morgan halted abruptly, caught in a moment of stillness. He hadn't even reached the buffet line yet. The individual stationed behind the sneeze guard, clad in a white apron and a hat that seemed oversized for his head, remained oblivious to his presence. Wesley had arranged a meal under the alias Frank, utilizing a third-party app that his company employed for gathering customer insights. He occasionally ventured into various stores, seeking an authentic glimpse of reality. With 13 buffet locations spread across several states, this particular one in East Columbus consistently delivered merely average results. No significant issues to report. No excessive accolades. He decided it was the right moment to witness it firsthand. 8 years ago, he acquired the chain from a couple who were stepping back from their business. In those days, the cuisine was delightful, yet the service often varied. He dedicated years to refining the operation, establishing a structured system, recruiting district managers, standardizing recipes, and enhancing wages. However, recently, the figures had begun to decline. It's not quite alarming, but it certainly piques curiosity. He was unfamiliar with the staff in this place. They were unfamiliar with him. Many of them began their journey after the pandemic, and he hadn't set foot in this place since prior to that time. Sporting a clean-shaven face, a subtle southern drawl, and a well-loved Green Bay Packers hoodie pulled down over his eyes, he certainly doesn't fit the typical image of a CEO. Particularly, not as he waited in line, clutching a plastic tray just like all the other patrons. The man being reprimanded stood beside the cash register. He appeared as though he hadn't enjoyed a proper meal in days. Worn, tattered coat, hollowed cheeks, likely in his 50s. He stood there, silent and still, not pleading, just existing. There in the moment. "Sir, you can't simply linger here and expect to receive leftovers," the employee behind the counter stated more emphatically now. "If you're looking for food, you'll need to pay just like everyone else." The man spoke in a low murmur, his words scarcely discernible. Wesley advanced a step to catch the sound more clearly. "Listen, I don't care if you're hungry," the employee snapped. "Consider visiting a shelter or a similar place. You're making others uncomfortable." Wesley's jaw clenched. A young woman with curly brown hair stationed at the salad bar took a moment to pause. She cast a sidelong look, her brow furrowed in discontent. Whitney F. glanced nervously between the man and her co-worker, her name tag catching the light. As she shifted her gaze, Wesley observed as she reached beneath the counter, retrieving a small plate with a graceful motion. With a gentle motion, she gathered a few items and approached the man. "Here," she said softly, extending it forward. "Please keep this between us, all right?" The man blinked, accepted the plate, and nodded in acknowledgement. "Thank you," he murmured. The other worker, towering and flushed, cast aside his serving spoon. "Are you really serious, Whitney?" "So you're planning to feed every stray now?" She didn't even bat an eye. "He is an individual, Eric." Wesley approached the cashier and handed her his ticket. He mentioned it was for the dinner buffet. The cashier hardly raised their gaze. 17, precisely. He settled the bill with cash, picked up his plate, and strolled down the line at a leisurely pace, observing everything around him. Eric grumbled quietly to himself before pivoting away, his frustration evident as he began to clatter the trays with a noticeable force. Wesley positioned himself toward the rear, observing the food line ahead of him. He observed the individual with the donated plate seated in the distant corner, consuming his meal in silence, head bowed. Whitney made her way back to her post, casting occasional glances in his direction. Eric stood by the counter, arms folded, absorbed in his phone as he scrolled through the screen. Wesley left his meal untouched. After 15 minutes, he rose and strolled to the drink machine, feigning the act of filling a cup. He inclined slightly toward Whitney. "Hey, that guy you helped, does that happen often?" he asked, his tone casual. She paused, unsure. At times he has visited previously, doesn't demand much, and oversight. They seemed fine with it, and she offered a strained smile. "It seems that the only time management takes notice is when a complaint is raised. Have you ever faced consequences for lending a hand?" Eric asked the manager one time. "I received a verbal warning, whatever that entails." Wesley nodded. She glanced at her shoes and said, You always help people like that if I can." He began to walk away, hesitated, then remarked, "Thanks, that was kind of you." She appeared taken aback. "Thank you." Wesley emerged from the front door and paused on the sidewalk. He absorbed the flickering neon sign, the cracked tile by the entrance, the peeling paint on the window trim. Nothing extravagant, yet enough to evoke a sense of atmosphere. Feeling overlooked, he took out his phone and called the district manager. "Hello, this is Wes. Could you please arrange a manager meeting for tomorrow morning?" "Store 13, I witnessed something tonight that requires our discussion." Then he ended the call. As I glanced back through the window, I noticed Eric lingering nearby while Whitney quietly attended to her station, washing it with care. The man with the plate had vanished, and Wesley had witnessed enough. He would return tomorrow. This time they would recognize him without a doubt. Wesley showed up ahead of the opening time. The lot remained mostly vacant, with a handful of cars dotting the uneven asphalt. The air was brisk, the sort that rendered your breath visible and tested your patience. He maneuvered his vehicle to a discreet spot, hidden from the entrance, and slipped inside through the staff door using a spare key fob he'd retained from the early days. A few heads turned as he entered, remaining silent at first, while the kitchen light hummed above. A young prep cook in his 20s was skillfully chopping onions while listening to music through his earbuds. A dishwasher stacked trays into the machine, eyes focused elsewhere. Two servers lounged against a back counter, absorbed in their phones, their aprons neatly tucked at their waists. Wesley entered the break room and gently shut the door behind him. Shortly thereafter, the store manager entered, clutching a clipboard and a steaming cup of coffee. "Morning," she said instinctively, her gaze finally settling on his face. "Oh, Mr. Morgan, Christina," he stated calmly. "We need to have a conversation." At that moment, she became rigid. "Certainly. Would you like me to connect with the district manager?" "No, I have already had a conversation with him. This must begin here." They stepped into the dining area, where chairs remained overturned on tables, and the air was thick with the lingering scent of yesterday's fried chicken mingled with bleach. Wesley pointed to a booth by the window, and Christina took a seat, in silence. "I was here last night," he said. She blinked. "Last night, as a patron, she maintained a more upright posture. I suppose you wouldn't have noticed me. I entered using another name and took a seat at the back. Observed the dynamics of your team's interactions with customers, noted the way they treat one another." Her mouth opened, then closed once more. "There's a reason this establishment is faltering," he continued. "And it's not the cuisine, it's the atmosphere. It's what you permit to unfold under your guidance. I, good sir, maintain a well-organized operation. We adhere to established protocols. Guidelines failed to prevent one of your staff from scolding a person in distress. Her complexion faded to a ghostly pallor. He maintained his composure. He remained calm, refraining from yelling, stealing, or making any demands. He remained still, wishing that someone would show a bit of kindness and offer him a plate. Rather than receiving compassion, he faced humiliation in a loud and public manner. She averted her eyes, while the employee who intervened regarded her as if she were the source of the issue. "You had no idea, did you? That's because you weren't present on the floor. You remained in the background, as always, allowing someone like Eric to take charge of the front end." Her gaze darted upward once more. "Eric isn't a manager. He doesn't require a title to influence. The atmosphere. People are drawn to him as there's nothing holding him back." She paused. "He holds seniority, having been here for 6 years, covers shifts, trains newcomers, and manages busy periods when we're understaffed. And that grants him the authority to determine who is worthy of dignity." She fell silent. "I want him gone immediately," Wesley said, her expression one of shock. Without a moment's pause, "You're letting him go." She nodded slowly. Wesley rose, comprehension dawning. "Gather the remaining team members. I'd like to have a discussion with them prior to opening." In just a few moments, the team assembled in the dining area. Whitney lingered at the rear, her arms gently folded, her gaze drifting toward Wesley with a subtle intrigue. Eric sauntered, in last, a yawn escaping his lips, still clad in the same apron from the previous night, while Wesley positioned himself in front of them. No stage, no grand introduction, I'm Wesley Morgan, the owner of this company. Some of you might recognize me while others may not, and I take responsibility for that. A few exchanged fleeting looks. I created this enterprise from scratch. I understand the experience of cleaning fryers, scrubbing toilets, and finalizing a loan on a Friday night. I've done it all. I undertook this endeavor because I had faith that this place could hold significance, that individuals could arrive here and receive kindness, enjoying a satisfying meal. He allowed that to linger, making sure it resonated. Last night I witnessed an event that contradicted the very principles this company upholds. A man entered from the street. He wasn't boisterous or confrontational, but rather he was simply hungry. And in place of empathy, he faced ridicule. Eric adjusted his stance, arms crossed. One among you took action and made the right choice. The others either observed or turned their gaze elsewhere. Whitney's gaze fell to the ground, and the individual who chose to represent this company without authorization, Eric, composed himself. With all due respect, I wasn't familiar with who he was. We encounter individuals like that frequently. If we distribute food to everyone, you're finished, Wesley stated bluntly, causing Eric to blink in surprise. Excuse me, your employment has come to an end. Please gather your belongings and depart at your earliest convenience. I can't believe you're actually saying that. I gather the majority of the weekend team. I handle 5 closings each week, and none of that grants you the authority to strip away someone's humanity. You lack the qualities of a leader, and instead pose a risk. Eric's jaw clenched. This is absurd. I refuse to engage in this discussion. Christina will handle your termination today. Kindly leave your keycard. Eric scanned the room, anticipating an interruption from someone. Silence enveloped the room. He flung his card onto the table and stormed out the back door. Wesley faced the group once more. I'm not here to instill fear. My purpose is to mend what's been damaged. It all begins with taking responsibility. He glanced at Whitney. You took the initiative, maintaining your composure, seeking no applause, simply doing what was right. That is significant. She glanced upward, taken aback. Beginning today, your head server, you will receive a salary increase, and we will discuss the possibility of training you for an assistant management role. She fluttered her eyelashes. I appreciate your efforts. You truly deserve it. He cast his gaze upon the others. I aspire for this store to improve. That signifies an end to shortcuts and a refusal to ignore the obvious. When assistance is required, we provide support. Disrespecting a customer or a co-worker is unacceptable. Such behavior will not be tolerated. There are no warnings, no justifications. The atmosphere was still. I'll be here throughout the day, observing, absorbing, and engaging in tasks as necessary. If you have any worries, thoughts, or frustrations, feel free to share them with me. I will listen to them. He seized a chair, brought it crashing down onto the floor, and settled into it. Let us unlock the entrance. The following hours unfolded in a unique manner. The staff exhibited improved posture. Whispers remained soft yet intent. Whitney managed the front with a serene command, guiding a few scattered younger servers with composed assurance. Wesley observed her vigilance over the registers, her diligence in ensuring the drinks were well stocked, and her quiet assistance to a new employee in mastering the salad bar setup, all without seeking the spotlight. He observed the minimal presence of Christina on the floor during lunchtime. He discovered her in the office, meticulously examining the schedules. You'll have to approach hiring in a new way, he remarked. There are far too many individuals who lack concern, and not nearly enough who genuinely care. She raised her gaze. We've faced challenges in attracting applicants. In that case, you adjust your expectations. You cease prioritizing quick hires and begin focusing on aligning with core values. I've been working to ensure all shifts are adequately covered. And that's how you find individuals like Eric managing the operations in all aspects, except for the official designation. She pressed her fingers against her forehead. Since spring, we've experienced a significant amount of turnover. Individuals resign unexpectedly. Some appear for a brief moment and then vanish. I find myself in a state of brevity nearly every week. In that case, it would have been prudent to escalate the matter further up. I never imagined it would be significant. Wesley nodded. That will be different soon. From this point forward, you will communicate hiring gaps directly to the regional team. I will ensure they reply. However, it's essential to begin guiding those you retain. There are definitely a couple of strong options available. She nodded slowly, urging them not to let themselves burn out. He mentioned that he would arrange weekly check-ins with you for the next 2 months. If circumstances do not enhance, we will reassess your role. Just? Absolutely, sir. He exited the office and made his way back to the floor. A family with 3 children had just entered. Whitney welcomed them with a friendly smile, led them to a tidy table, and bent down a bit to chat with the youngest child, who appeared anxious. Wesley observed in silence. He had no use for a press release. He required neither a camera crew nor a grand gesture. He simply had to ensure that this space felt alive with humanity once more. The lunch rush had just begun to wane when Wesley noticed the initial significant crack. A young cook named Matteo, who had been manning the grill station since the early hours, stepped away from the flat top, favoring his right leg with a noticeable limp. He rested against the prep counter, releasing a slow breath as if striving to conceal his discomfort. His apron dripped with moisture, his shirt adhered to his skin, and a row of unclaimed tickets lingered ominously above the grill. Wesley approached and pulled open the cooler door next to him. "You've been waiting on that line since 8, haven't you?" Matteo acknowledged with a slight nod, his gaze fixed elsewhere. "Once more we're lacking," Jason exclaimed. "I believe he has resigned. Are you all right?" "Indeed, I just adjusted my knee last week, continuing the journey of recovery." Wesley moved aside, allowing Matteo to return to the grill. "You shared it with everyone. It's of no consequence. If I don't demonstrate that Christina has no support here, I don't want to risk getting Whitney tangled up on the line again." Wesley cast a quick look at the stack of tickets. "Take a moment. Please take a seat. I'll continue onward." Matteo paused, uncertainty flickering in his mind. "Are you certain?" "Proceed." Wesley donned a pair of gloves, secured an apron around his waist, and seized the spatula with purpose. He navigated the kitchen with a deft precision, flipping burgers, loading chicken tenders, and announcing finished orders with ease. The tempo returned more swiftly than he had anticipated. A couple of faces emerged from the service window, taken aback to find him standing behind the line. Whitney glided past, a tray expertly balanced on one hand. "I never imagined this moment would arrive." He continued without hesitation. "Have you ever witnessed someone struggle through their workday, hesitant to seek assistance?" She repositioned her tray, too frequently for my liking. "It seems we are facing more significant issues than I initially realized." When Matteo came back, Wesley had already tidied up the board. The child appeared somewhat embarrassed. "Have you managed this place before or something?" he inquired. "Something along those lines," Wesley responded, returning the spatula. 15. Minutes later, he discovered Christina by the dry storage closet, meticulously checking off inventory sheets. He gestured for her to follow him into the hallway that lay behind the kitchen, a space removed from the bustle of activity. Individuals are pushing through their injuries. What caused that to go unreported? She shut her clipboard with a decisive motion. "Matteo." He remained silent until yesterday, and even then he merely stated that it was fine. "He is walking with a limp." I suggested taking him home, but he declined, stating he didn't want to disrupt the shift. "Ultimately, the decision rests with you, not him." She gazed down the corridor. "This week we are down 3 individuals. I've been attempting to manage the schedule without taking on extra shifts myself. I never anticipated it would reach this point. You are not a firefighter. One doesn't allow things to go up in flames merely due to a lack of resources." She nodded slowly. "I've been working on mending all the little issues. It has been an unending stream. We lose someone, bring in another, and they depart once more. I'm working to maintain the opportunities available. In that case, you require assistance." "You're not going to achieve it by concealing the flaws," she paused. "I hoped it wouldn't cast a negative light on my reputation. Do you really believe I prioritize metrics over the well-being of those struggling on the line?" Christina fixed her gaze on him, studying him intently. No, I suppose I just didn't want to appear as if I couldn't manage it. It's not meant to be faced in solitude. Your district team is there to support you. If they're not responding, I'll ensure they do, she exhaled. I will submit a request for 2 temporary cooks, note Mateo's injury in the log, and adjust his. Hours for the remainder of the week. Excellent. Additionally, begin mentoring someone from within to assist with back-of-house responsibilities. Whitney is dependable. Christina nodded, recognizing that Mateo possesses the potential to thrive with the right support. Got it. Returning to the floor, Wesley observed a new situation developing by the dessert bar. A middle-aged woman, her voice cutting through the hair, held a clipboard firmly as she addressed another server with terse, exasperated tones. The young employee, Evan, appeared to be around 19, his face a vivid shade of red. That's not the correct way to refill the trays. I've mentioned it 5 times already. You seem to be overlooking what I'm saying. I was merely adhering to the chart. Clearly you haven't gone through it. It clearly states here, she pointed at the paper, that when the tray is below half, you should replace it completely, not just top it off. Now, repeat the process. Wesley entered the scene. Everything is fine. Here the woman turned, taken aback. Mr. Morgan, I wasn't aware you were still here. I am Danielle Foster, a corporate training consultant, and I am here for the quarterly compliance audit. Evan stepped back slightly, and Wesley gave a single nod. I'm grateful for your presence, but this isn't the way we conduct our training, Danielle said with a blink. I'm simply ensuring that the policies are adhered to. He's a newcomer, and he shouldn't be treated as a target. Corrections are approached with respect. When a pattern emerges, it is recorded and handled with appropriate guidance, rather than through public shaming. She tensed just a bit. My intention was not to bring him shame. Your voice grew louder. You gestured towards him. You caused him to feel inadequate in front of clients. That doesn't qualify as training. That's a form of coercion. Danielle placed her clipboard on the table. I will refine my strategy. You will accomplish much more than that. For the moment, you will take a break from the floor. I will arrange for a representative from HR to reach out regarding your behavior. She parted her lips, only to seal them once more. She grabbed her clipboard and strode purposefully to the back office. Wesley glanced over at Evan. You're doing great. If anything is unclear, feel free to reach out to Whitney or Mateo for clarification. They are there for you. Evan gave a swift nod. Thank you. Wesley made his way back to the host stand. A young girl, perhaps 7 or 8, stood there clutching a plastic cup, her expression one of confusion. He sank to one knee beside her. Are you all right? She gave a slight nod. My drink has been spilled. It's nothing to worry about. Where is your table located? She gestured to the distant corner. Whitney approached, towel in hand, and a fresh cup ready. She offered a gentle wave to the girl, who beamed and hurried back to her family. Wesley observed as Whitney knelt, cleaned up the mess, and passed the cup with a soft exchange of words. The father of the child acknowledged with a thankful nod. He took out his phone and composed a succinct message to the regional director. Requesting Whitney's personnel file, commencing the onboarding process for the assistant manager next week. As the afternoon wore on, the tempo began to ease. Wesley entered the office quietly and examined the staffing chart with keen interest. Half of the names bore question marks or incomplete alterations. Some had consecutive double shifts lined up. He dialed the regional office directly. I'm requesting the assignment of 2 floaters here beginning tomorrow, one designated for the back of house and another for the dining room. Draw from the flexible resource pool. Emphasize mindset rather than haste. The voice on the other end faltered. That will make another site constrained. Then instruct that site to flag it promptly. I prefer to move forward rather than deal with the aftermath. A moment of stillness. Understood. I will take care of the coordination. He ended the call and made his way back onto the floor. The final wave of dinner guests was gradually arriving. Whitney stood at the register, processing the purchase of a couple in their 60s. Mateo had just finished at the grill and was meticulously wiping down the prep table, his movements slower, yet more deliberate. Evan stood by the dessert bar, replenishing trays, clipboard nowhere to be found. Wesley settled into a seat by the window, allowing the gentle clatter of plates, quiet exchanges, and the soothing buzz of the soda fountain to envelop him. The location remained unestablished, not at this moment, yet it pulsed with life once more, and for the time being that sufficed. The following morning, Wesley positioned himself in the back hallway of the store, arms crossed, observing the new float cook as he struggled with his initial attempt at preparing cornbread batter. The young man was inexperienced, in his early 20s, quick with his hands, overflowing with confidence, yet lacking in execution. Yet he paid attention as Matteo softly adjusted the measurement ratios, and that was what truly counted. The desire to learn would take them further than speed ever could. Wesley entered the office and glanced at the printout Christina had left. On the desk, the updated staffing plan appeared more streamlined. No open doubles available. The new hires were still in the pipeline, but with the 2 temporary staff and Whitney taking on additional responsibilities, there was sufficient space to maintain operations without overwhelming anyone. He arranged individual meetings with the core team following lunch. Casual chats, no formal critiques, no clipboards, no corporate jargon, just sitting across a table, conversing like individuals who understood the burden of the environment. Whitney took the lead. She positioned herself opposite him in the break room, her hands neatly folded, her posture unwavering. "What do you find to be the most challenging aspect of your work?" Wesley inquired. She acted without a moment's pause. "It seems as though I'm the sole person who feels the weight of things when they go awry," Wesley acknowledged with a single nod. "You no longer hold that title. I hold that conviction now. Yesterday seemed to mark a turning point. It may not be simple, yet it is distinct. You still aspire to step into a management role. I certainly do. However, that shouldn't come at the cost of becoming someone who ceases to listen." He inclined his body slightly forward. "It definitely won't. However, it will require the ability to maintain your stance even in the absence of an audience. Are you prepared for that?" She inclined her head. "I believe I have already been. Next week, you'll begin your shadowing experience with Christina, managing payroll, coordinating schedules, and handling vendor communications. I'd like you to take a look at it before you immerse yourself in it. I will be prepared." "Excellent. If you ever sense that things are going awry with staff, customers, or even upper management, please come to me directly. You have my contact information." She lifted her eyebrows just a bit. "You are providing me with your number. I don't share it with just anyone. Yet, I fear the thought of losing you." She nodded, a wave of disbelief washing over her, before she departed to prepare for the bustling midday crowd. Next arrived Matteo, his limp noticeably reduced from the previous day. He sat with his shoulders hunched, a palpable uncertainty radiating from him as he grappled with the reasons behind his unexpected involvement. Wesley remarked that he had a debt to settle. Matteo lifted his gaze. "What is the purpose for failing to protect your well-being? You shouldn't have believed that remaining on the line was your sole choice. I was reluctant to waste precious time." "You shall not. Your schedule is being adjusted and you will receive full pay for the week. You will handle cold prep and lighter tasks until your knee is fully recovered." Matteo fixed his gaze on him. "There's no need for you to do that. I certainly do. This environment thrives on safety, and if I allow you to exhaust yourself, I'm igniting a blaze that I'll need to extinguish down the line." Matteo gave a slow nod. "Thank you, that signifies more than you might realize." Additionally, Wesley mentioned that once you're operating at full capacity, he wants you to be paired with the training lead. Your abilities are promising. I'm curious to know if you would contemplate a journey in leadership. Matteo opened his eyes wide. "I possess a keen intuition. You refrain from assigning blame. You adjust. That's quite uncommon. I wish to put my resources into it." The most recent meeting took place with Christina. She entered with a meticulously organized binder tucked under one arm and a collection of updated logs clutched in the other. Before she had the chance to take a seat, Wesley raised a hand. "Set the papers aside. Simply engage with me." With a moment of uncertainty, she placed the binder aside and took a seat. Wesley began, You've been here longer than many others. This place has endured its share of challenging times. I endeavored to make it function with the resources at my disposal. I hold that conviction. However, mere attempts no longer suffice. You've got to push it ahead, not merely keep it intact, she acknowledged. I became too comfortable. I ceased to advocate for progress when the challenges became overwhelming. That is evolving at this moment. I will touch base every 2 weeks directly, not to oversee every detail, but to collaborate effectively. I'm able to manage that. Excellent. There's a crucial 3-month window to solidify your team, minimize attrition, and develop a strong talent pool. Whitney and Matteo are the initial pair. She nodded once more, indicating the need to cultivate them. Got it. If you proceed with that, we can discuss broadening your responsibilities, regional matters, and navigating a restructuring process. If you demonstrate your ability to cultivate leaders, there's a place for someone of your caliber, her. Expression changed. Reduced stress, increased intention. I will seize this opportunity, Wesley declared as he rose to his feet. Let's cease the chatter and return to our tasks. That afternoon, the cadence on the floor resonated more distinctly. Whitney stood out more prominently. She coordinated with the servers, stepped in at the register when necessary, and discreetly assisted the temp on Expo, all while ensuring his errors went unnoticed. Matteo lingered in the back, meticulously preparing coleslaw and methodically rotating the fridge stock, his movements measured and intentional. A woman entered as the day was winding down, in her mid-40s, adorned with a school security badge and clutching a takeout menu. Her shoes showed signs of wear, and her posture conveyed a sense of fatigue. She paused by the cash register, carefully, examining the choices before her. Whitney came over and inquired if she required assistance. "I've only got about $6, the woman admitted, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "I simply require something I can bring back with me. Perhaps the edges." Wesley, positioned close by, observed the exchange between Whitney and the cashier, both seemingly reluctant to send her away or signal her departure. "Let me tell you," Whitney said, nodding toward the hot bar, "we provide a communal plate whenever possible. Select your top 3 items, and I'll prepare them for you to take away." The woman fluttered her eyelids. "Is that so?" Whitney offered a gentle smile. "Is that so?" Wesley took a step back, allowing the scene to unfold before him. No elaborate display, no picture-perfect instance. Individuals acted with integrity, adhering to the established norm as the team transitioned seamlessly together. The dishes were arranged neatly. The floors were cleaned promptly and without the need for reminders. No one dawdled with their devices. Silence enveloped the room. Wesley retrieved his coat from the office and made his way to the floor for one final time. The light softened, casting a gentle glow as the closing crew began their last round of tidying up. Whitney polished the front counter with care. Matteo had already departed, his work hours cut short for the week. Christina examined the final customer receipt prior to securing the register. Wesley made his way to the gathering at the host stand. Everyone put in great effort today. Whitney seemed pleased. It had a unique quality. "That's due to the changes you made," he said as he turned to Christina. "Maintain this energy. Take the initiative before crises arise." He nodded in agreement, indicating his decision. "I'll return in 2 weeks, but I'll keep an eye on things. In the meantime." Just as he approached the door, Whitney's voice rang out. "Hey, Mr. Morgan," he pivoted. "Thank you for being present without the intent to reprimand others." "Thank you for your patience in helping to resolve the issue," Wesley offered a slight nod. "Repairing it was the straightforward task. Maintaining its integrity is a shared responsibility for everyone involved." He ventured out into the refreshing embrace of the evening air. The once dim neon sign, which had previously caused him a sense of shame, now shone brightly, its repairs completed just that morning. A minor detail, yet it held significance. He retrieved his keys from his coat pocket and hesitated, glancing back through the glass one last time. Only first-hand accounts from now on. Eliminate all uncertainties. If the organization is to expand, it will do so with awareness, effort, and passion involved. He opened his car, ignited the engine, and departed quietly. Within the confines, the team completed their last thorough examination, keep the volume down. There are no easy paths, simply consistent, thoughtful effort, the sort that creates something valuable and lasting.